mention, if you haven't signed in, some of y'all got here early and the sign-in sheets may have come after you came. So if you didn't sign in yet, if you don't mind, on your way out, if you could please sign in. That way we'll be able to keep you on our email list of anything that's upcoming on the project. Good for us to be able to submit to the city everybody that showed up as well. And we'll get started at 5:30. Thank you. My name is Tara Tedrow. I'm an attorney at Lowndes Law in Orlando. I represent the developer of this project, which is 4-Star. We have a whole development team here tonight in case there's questions that you all have, and I suspect there will be some questions at the end. Just so you all know the order of how this is going to go is I intend to do a very high-level overview of a presentation, and then we're going to go right into the question and answer portion of the evening. If there's something that you ask that we don't yet have an answer to, it could be because we're just too early in the process, but we promise that we will get those answers for you after tonight's meeting. The purpose of this meeting, and you may have gotten something in the mail or been told by one of your neighbors about this the community meeting tonight, it's voluntary. So the city did not make us have this meeting. We wanted to have this meeting given the magnitude of the project and the interest we knew that neighbors would have. On any project where I represent developers, I always ask and implore them to have community meetings on projects like this so that we can hear from residents, understand the concerns, address them where possible. I understand that there are probably a lot of folks in the room tonight whose feedback is just going to be, we hate the development, period, and we don't want anything on this site. I will caution you that that is probably not as productive as perhaps giving us some other feedback of maybe things that you specifically don't like and perhaps ways that if a project were to be approved, what might it look like. So that type of actionable feedback is really helpful to a project team like this because we can go back to the table and see perhaps what about our design or our conceptual plans that we have at this stage can possibly be modified. We are just discussing again tonight as a proposed rezoning of the property. We are not changing the comprehensive plan future land use designation. And just as a little primer, there's a difference between a comp plan designation and a rezoning. The comprehensive plan sets out basically a master guidance of what a city or a county thinks should be done in a specific area in their jurisdiction. And then you look to the more granular details on a zoning level to know exactly how it's going to look and how it's going to feel once it's developed. So we are going to have more than just tonight's community meeting, but again, this was an opportunity for us to give you some information on a project that we have not submitted yet to the City of Tavares. So no applications have yet been submitted. This is truly a voluntary informational meeting so that we could hear feedback prior to making a formal submittal to the city. Now we have had conversations, of course, with the city. Because this project, we wanted to get some feedback, understand the dynamics of the comprehensive plan and where things stood from that perspective in order to guide what we were going to propose from a zoning perspective. But again, no formal application has yet been made. So our next steps after this evening would be... Can you speak up, please? Oh, sure. Can everybody in the back hear me? That's better. Oh, no. Still no? Oh, no. Well, I might not start over. How about this? Tonight's a voluntary community meeting, and we're going to have more than just tonight. We've made no formal applications to the city, and nothing has been formally submitted yet. So we are happy to give you some information. All right. Still not loud enough? I'm going to go home and tell my husband that I'm not as loud as he thinks. All right. So tonight's meeting is a voluntary... I'm sorry to the front row, I'm screaming in your face. Tonight's meeting is a voluntary community meeting. We will have more after tonight. Once we make a formal application to the City of Tavares, everything that this project team submits becomes public record, meaning anybody in this room can get access to it. We have to go through public hearings in front of the Planning and Zoning Board of the city, which is a recommending body, and in front of City Council for ultimate approval of a rezoning. Again, the comprehensive plan is in place, which we'll talk about, so the PUD, which means a planned unit development rezoning, is all we are talking about tonight. This shows you an overview of the property's location. It's in the City of Tavares, so it is not in unincorporated Lake County. So the City of Tavares is the one that will be reviewing applications and making an ultimate decision about the application submitted. It's on the south side of Lake Dora, the northeast side of County Road 561, and east of State Road 19. We have railroad frontage with the Florida Central Railroad, so there will be 2 railroad crossings. The property size is 1,355.9 acres, but the developable area, meaning the area that can actually have development on it, is 576.36 acres of the 1,355.9. So I know some folks probably thought that that whole site was going to turn into a development footprint, but it is not, and it is not able to be. There are a significant amount, over 700 acres of wetlands, about 700 acres of wetlands on this property that will remain on this property. So we have a much smaller footprint where buildings or homes could actually go than what the property size shows. The current use of the property is for the Far Reach Ranch, and the future land use designation is the Lakeside Mixed Use. That designation was adopted by the city back in 2011. Does anybody remember? Anybody in here? I don't know if you remember. A couple folks, okay. Remember that when that had been adopted back in 2011. So the future land use was put in place in the comprehensive plan for the city and set out the parameters of how dense, meaning how many residential dwelling units could go, and how intense, meaning how many square feet of development could go on this property. As it sits today, the current future land use designation, already adopted by the city, which we are not proposing to change, to increase any amounts, in fact will be decreasing, is that it would allow for 2,500 residential units and 2.5 million square feet. And we tell you that because, again, that is an adopted ordinance. I had nothing to do with it. My team had nothing to do with it. It is in place today.
Where do the animals go?
And so that development, and I promise we'll get questions and comments at the end. That future land use designation was intended to provide for a mixed use development. It is, in fact, hyper-specific about the types of development programs that must go on this property. And it gives a lot of guidance, which we'll show you. And if you have questions or want to review that yourself, if you just Google City of Tavares Comprehensive Plan, all of that's available on the city's website. You could pull it up and read it from home. I promise you might get tired and fall asleep if you do, but you will have access to it. It's all online. There is no zoning assigned to this property. The zoning has to be a planned unit development zoning, meaning that the comprehensive plan says anybody who wants to come develop this property has to develop it with a PUD zoning. That is what we are proposing today. Again, that's an implementation of the standards that have been set forth already in the comprehensive plan. A little history lesson for those who might have been around in 2011 is that this ordinance came about at a time when there was something called the Icon Aviation Headquarters. And the project name, because it was a project at the time exempt from public records because it was an economic development project. They called it, I think, Project Batman Icon or something like that, that was going to have a major seaplane manufacturing and residential live-work community and airport that was supposed to be developed on the property. You can see the renderings on the side come from an economic development report that had been generated trying to entice this company to come to the City of Tavares. They've ultimately located some of their facilities in Winter Haven, but at the time, those reports were being put out to say, you all should come here. We have a 1,300-acre virgin waterfront site suitable for your world vision. So again, if you're wondering how this became such an intense and dense future land use designation that exists, it was to attract this incredibly large and intense development project at that time. So I understand this might function as a last line of a reading test for those folks in the back, but this is the future land use designation of the Lakeside Mixed Use as one of the line items in the city's overall future land use designations. So you'll see on the Lakeside Mixed Use section, it specifically references anything about residential numbers and the number of square feet that you can develop to look to a specific policy in the comprehensive plan. All of the other categories are very short in the comprehensive plan. They are the line that you see on this table and maybe a couple sentences of a paragraph explaining generally what a commercial or a residential future land use is. There is no other more detailed future land use designation than the one that we already have on our property. Here's the future land use policy, again, a couple of paragraphs that tells you that this is an area that is envisioned to have a mix of different uses, a mix of different types of lodging or civic and residential, office, employment, institutional, that it's supposed to be live work, it's supposed to have interconnectivity, and that it sets forth again that 2,500 dwelling units and 2.5 million square feet of non-residential, meaning anything from industrial to office to commercial retail type uses. I copy and pasted some of the comprehensive plan in here in its entirety, just again to show you the number of pages that are already applicable to this project site. So it goes through all of those pages of very specific development criteria, none of which we are asking the city to change. So from a developer's perspective, we came in the city, this piece of property, we analyzed its future land use and said, well, we pretty much know exactly what we're allowed to do because it's already adopted by the city. We just need to implement it from a zoning standpoint. So what can we do to implement it the best way possible? And again, these are opportunities to get some of that feedback. And in the beginning, when I asked for that type of actionable feedback, just saying, you know, we don't like you, go away. I promise I'll give an opportunity for everyone to raise their hand if you hate the project so you can be on record for how many people might not like it, but we would ask that you give us the opportunity to at least present some details to you, and then another chance at a subsequent community meeting to present some more details, because perhaps it's not as bad as you may have read online, and perhaps there are things that can be done that might mitigate some of the impacts. But as it stands today, the right to do the amount of intensity and density we are asking for is already approved by the city. It is really just a question of how we're going to implement that plan. So there's a map as well that's been adopted in the comprehensive plan that sets out different land use districts. And again, we've designed around all of these things that the comprehensive plan talks about, where they talk about employment districts, village center districts, residential districts, and open space districts. Our proposal is for 2,090 dwelling units, are probably the max that we can get. Keep in mind that that is a hypothetical number of units that at a preliminary stage we think could work on the property. As you get into true engineering on the site, which comes after the zoning approval phase, that's when you find out how many you can really do on the ground. And the number cannot go up, it can only go down. Total commercial employment and office square footage, we're not proposing 2.5 million. The max we think could be possible over all the developable acreage that would permit that type of use would be around 565,000 square feet. So a significant amount of non-residential uses, but again, stepped down a little less than 2 million square feet than what is permitted by right today. So under the future land use policies, it talks about, again, the types of uses that are allowed, what we are proposing, and the reduction in what we have put forth in our concept plan. This shows you open space and common areas. The coloring's not great because of the screen, but there are open space common areas, about 100 acres of those, and there are 779.56 acres of preserved wetlands and surface waters. Those are the blue.
On the screen, since they're not visible, can you point them out?
Oh, I don't. Alex, maybe you can be our Vanna White.
Could you turn on the lights above you?
You can see the screen, if you can see
They're right over here.
dark green
Over here.
is the preserved wetlands.
Correct?
The lighter green
Yeah.
areas.
You can see the people on the stage.
Oh,
There you
does
go.
that make it worse?
Oh, well, maybe not.
Makes it worse?
Okay, so just in favor, the dark green wetland areas are not going to change?
Correct, this is the area that we're showing as preserved.
Okay, so
Of the preserved.
one second, just one more question. Of that dark green area, all the rest of those light green areas are, that we see that are the same color, are going to be part of your developmental aspect, correct?
Open space common area.
Okay. That's all I needed to see, since they all look the same.
Thank you.
In the maps, again, at the end, if there's anything you all want to see in better detail, I apologize, we didn't know the screen was going to look kind of like this, but we'll be able to show you where those open spaces are. But that is a commitment that there will be at least 779.56 acres of preserved wetlands on the property.
Yeah, can you put a book underneath the projector?
A little bit higher on the screen.
Oh, because it's hard to see. Okay.
Will you forward these slides if you send you a request?
Thank you.
Happy to. Yeah, happy to. Whoa. Well, we got a little too high. Well, this is our IT department at work. Probably should have.
I hope it's better than your community development.
Right. Well, we may just have to go back to the lower screen and see if we can.
It's got an adjuster on the bottom, doesn't it?
Did you know how to do that? Well, just so it's a little better.
Do you have a printout of this?
I don't have 180 of them, but I can email it to anybody who would like it.
Just along with that joke, and there was only 4 spaces at the other location, so there's only 4 parking spaces there, and we have 108. This is our city. Welcome.
No, listen, happy to be here. Not my first time. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. All right, I'm going to go to the, oops. So, hope no one's getting motion sickness. Some proposed highlights of the project. When we went through a couple iterations of this plan, and I think I might have skipped over. While we're working on that, some of the proposed highlights of things that we did in the planning phase. I know this is very distracting to watch, so hopefully I can still have your attention for just a couple of minutes. The program that we are proposing, we've gone through a few planning phases, so a couple dozen different reviews of what concept plans could look like. We looked at whether a marina would work on this property, and we took that off the plan. We looked at the number of docks that could be put on the property, and we took off private docks. So with a frontage like this on the lake, that could have been, from our planning side, several hundred docks. We took all of those off of the plan. Some things will be good, right? I'll take the wins where I can get them. We have no boat fueling. That was suggested as well, to have boat fueling, and we took off seaplane fueling. So that will not be on the project plans. We've committed again to that wetland preservation, and we're going to, and are working through on our side, some architectural and design elements to reflect the property's area layout, its compatibility with surrounding developments. So again, we've hired every level of expert you can to try to come up with some of those community design inspirations so that you all will know, if this were to be approved, what might it actually look like from the outside, and then if you were inside the project boundaries, what would it look like as well?
I don't think anybody in the room is worried about what it's going to look like. Everybody loves the concept. We love neighbors. We love everybody. Everybody's worried about permeability. Everybody's got problems now. Most of us lost 7 of 10 seawalls, over 40 seawalls from downgrade, degradation, and groundwater saturation that goes through this area tremendously. So permeability is our biggest cause. Are you going to have a water treatment plant? The whole criteria is, you pave paradise and you put up a parking lot. That's the way Jimmy Buffett started this scenario. Our scenario is, how is all those pavements, all those roads, all that storm sewer, how is all that going to connect to 2 roads that don't even lead to anywhere? Okay, we have enough problems getting around, making a left-hand turn on 561, which the city was supposed to look at. Before they looked at this, they were supposed to look at a traffic light we were supposed to have a long time ago.
And if you don't mind, I promise you, we will get to those comments and questions. I just want to get through the presentation, and then we'll open it up to everybody. This shows you the overview of a conceptual plan. I think some people might have gotten a copy of a concept plan that was an older kind of bubble-colored map. But this shows you where the development pods are along the property and the different type of uses that you can have. Mark We have one of our engineers here if he wants to talk through a little bit, just a high-level overview of what these pods look like, and maybe Alex, you can point to him as he goes through them so people can see him again. I apologize that the screen's not bigger, but we're happy to get y'all copies of things.
Well, good evening. My name is Mark Stelly, civil engineer with Polis and Bennett. Civil engineer with Polis and Bennett. Tara has done a good job kind of outlining the policies that govern this property. As she mentioned, this property has a future land use element for a mixed-use development, which really sets forth the city's vision for the property.
It already has that, sir? You've already changed it to mixed use?
That was approved back in 2011.
We thought that. We thought that about the airplanes coming in from California and putting gas and oil in our water.
That's not what we're presenting.
Understood.
I understand that.
Understood.
Let him finish.
So the future land use was approved back in 2011, and that set forth the maximum development criteria for the property. And inside that land use, it talks about 3 distinct districts of land, an employment center, a village center, and a residential center. And it requires that you have a minimum amount of acreage for each of those districts, and it allows a residential component, a maximum residential component within both the village center and the employment center district. So the project talks about a mixed-use development, and for those of you unfamiliar with it, a mixed-use development is really a more compact form of development where your homes, your shops, your restaurants, and your open spaces are all within a close proximity to each other. This allows, we designed this in a way that it has a comfortable feel from a sense of scale. In the engineering, and I should say, we try to make the streets so they're engaging, so you have a robust network of trail systems throughout, which promotes walkability, which allows neighbors to get out there, meet each other, intermix, and kind of enjoy the development. So this project, also when we went through and we started designing the project, one of the main things we were focused on was the preservation of the environmental lands that are on the property. As you mentioned, there's I think 800 and some odd acres. We're preserving almost 800. I think we have impacts for just to get our roads through from one upland area to the other. And so those are really the extent of it. And the developer, as Tara had mentioned, had made a conscious effort to preserve the shoreline. There's roughly 17,000 linear feet of shoreline here, and which normally you would probably put houses and everyone could have their docks. We precluded that, and the only access to the, or interaction I should say, with the lakefront is down in the village center where all the community can come and gather, and so we can really limit the footprint of any impact to the lakeshore. So just kind of going through the plan, up along 561, that's where really we have our employment center. We have 2 main access points off of 561. There'll be a very nice, appealing entrance, a divided boulevard landscape, and in that employment center, you're probably looking at some mix of uses such as flex space, e-commerce, things of that nature. As you move through the employment center, we have 2 roads that go to the back. Both of them transition into a residential component, more of a higher density residential. So if you can imagine, you have your boulevard, your streetscape lined with your trees. We have multi-use trails running along these streets. They will be fronted on both sides with residential development, but it's the alley loaded. So as you're viewing it, you're not looking at, garages and cars. That's all rear loaded in the alley. What you're looking at is the front of the houses, porches, things like that, really to try to engage people in the neighborhood, all part of that walkable type of community. As you then continue through the development, you go towards the village center. As you turn the corner there, you're going to be looking down your streetscape as you would for any typical like downtown, quaint little downtown area. You'll have a view to the central plaza, which then overlooks the lake. You're looking at probably...
Hold on a second. Folks, listen up. We have to all hear him, quit the chatter and the talk until it's all completed so we can understand it. Then we'll put out some questions. That's what they've asked us to do. you'll get a better understanding if you'll listen. Please.
So, thank you. So I'll use the term village center. And then you'll have some, probably 2, maybe 3-story buildings, retail on the bottom, some residential flats on top. That's probably where you're going to see your smaller shops, some restaurants, maybe some outdoor seating, some rooftop seating, things of that nature. And then as you go to the west towards the project, there is the main community center for the development. That'll have your pool and all the amenities for the entire development. And then it transitions to your more traditional residential quadrants where you're just going to have a mixture of single-family type homes. On the far, far east is just another residential component. That one is vehicularly separated from the main part of the development. There is no vehicular access from the majority of the property to the east. That eastern pod has about 250 units, and it's accessed off of Shirley Shores.
There you go.
Understood. So that's kind of an overview of the overall project in terms of the layout and what's proposed.
Have you ever been on Shirley Shores Road?
Where do the animals go?
And I'm gonna wrap up with just one or two more slides. In terms of traffic, there's an ongoing coordinated traffic study right now between the county, the city, and the developer. So everybody understands the county sets forth, the Metropolitan Planning Organization sets forth the parameters under which anybody, you all, us, any applicant would have to submit a traffic study. There's a methodology that they, as the county, independently have to approve. We submit that for review by those agencies, again, independent agencies that then come back and tell us whether or not there are things they disagree with that we have to change, and it's an ongoing discussion of updating until the development team gets the study to a point where it is acceptable and meets the methodology and the guidelines that the MPO has set forth. We do know that there will be signalization and turn lane improvements of certain access points into the development. Again, we are at a stage where we have not yet submitted. So I don't have a final report that we've provided to the city to give you all tonight. We wanted, again, to come early in the process to talk to the neighbors. So we don't have full and final outlines just yet. But the proposed development, though it is going to produce, I mean, nobody can stand in front of you and say development won't put any cars on the road. It is obviously going to be a net increase of vehicular traffic on roads. The question is, what is the difference between what could be there again today by right under the comprehensive plan versus what we are proposing? We under the calculations of those impacts, somebody could come and try to do more based on what the comprehensive plan since 2011 already allows. This is a multi-phased project that will have a 10+ year build-out timeline. So this is not all coming at once. The impacts of the project and the way that the developer or any developer would have to mitigate those impacts are determined at the time of site planning. So we could run a study that said the schools have all the capacity in the world today. We could run a study that says we only have to relocate 100 gopher tortoises. We could come back in 2 years and it says you have no capacity and you have 1,000 gopher tortoises. And we have to deal with that reality at the time. So we don't get to lock ourselves in and say, well, if it's good for us now and it's bad for us later, we don't have to deal with the bad facts. We will have to deal with the facts as they exist at the time that we go in for site planning. So I can assure you that the city has every reason in the world to be doing and reviewing the types of studies that the developer has to submit, such as an environmental assessment. That assessment has been performed, but we don't have the final analysis yet. But that initial environmental analysis was done by biotech. It would get submitted with our rezoning application, and any impacts of the development that we might have to go through permitting on a city and a state and potentially a federal level, depending on what we would be impacting, if anything. So those questions come at the time that we go, again, to a site planning phase of the project itself. The rezoning would say that you can do X, Y, and Z under your concept plan, theoretically, but it does not say you can do that in spite of a lack of concurrency at the time, meaning availability of utilities, capacity on the roads, capacity in the schools, etc. So we don't get the right just to go develop if there are not supporting services in place in order for us to develop at that time. And now's the part where we ask questions. I just want to, now that we've given the presentation, I know a lot of folks came in here from what we've seen online or received some initial feedback on, that they were opposed to there being a development on that site. I assume that is probably a lot of people in this room. So if you are opposed and your comment was just going to be, we're opposed, for the sake of time, because we would really like to get as many comments as we can from you all, if you could raise your hand, you're still opposed to the development.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
So we will take comments and questions, if we can, in as orderly of a fashion, I suppose, as is possible. And gentlemen in the red.
I have some questions on several. So you mentioned the comp plan for the City of Tavares, the 2040 comp plan.
Speak louder.
I'll repeat the question if we can, yeah.
So the 2040 comp plan right now, according to Kirby Smith and Lori Pfister, that issued more residential permits than were in the 2040 comp plan. How do you guys figure that you're going to get around that without them changing or amending the comp plan to facilitate making the roads better, funding additional improvements, infrastructure, all that? Because, and I'll give you another example. You and I had an issue with Crestwind's development, and you guys produced a traffic study that said 1 car per day was going to make a right move because you went out and hired your own traffic study there. Right now, currently, out of that Crestwind's development that's getting built, there's at least 50 cars a day turning right onto our road. So, you know, you guys produce those things with hired guns that you guys bring in, and that's why these developers hire somebody like yourself to come in and try to facilitate this. But you guys aren't telling the whole truth of that. And that's where the problem begins. In order to fight these big developers, it takes money. You know, it's going to be $5 or $10 million to fight these guys.
So let me answer the two questions. The first had to do with whether we need to amend the comprehensive plan to account for the type of density that's proposed on the project. And I've not had those conversations. I don't know in what context they were saying that, but the comprehensive plan very clearly sets out a maximum allowable amount of density and intensity on this property. So until I can understand the context in which they said that, I would say I disagree with that assessment. But on the second question about hiring somebody, just because we hire them, they're a hired gun. Well, the city and the county don't offer us a traffic consultant on their behalf that we have to use. So we are, please let me finish. We are required by the city and the county to go hire our own. So I think it's a little unfair to say that they're a hired gun when we're forced to hire them. And then if we didn't do a traffic study, I think everybody would be upset. The traffic study, let me finish, I promise I'll give you another chance. The traffic studies are run on a national data model. The ITE manual produces the metrics by which we have to run studies. The county and the city set forth levels of service standards in their comprehensive plan by which we as developers and you as an applicant, if you were to submit an application, also would have to analyze any of their impacts. So I can appreciate from the audience's standpoint that it feels like everything is just a hired gun, but then you have to be assuming that your city is incompetent and that your county is incompetent, which I disagree with. I disagree with. And I fundamentally disagree with those assessments.
Here's a caveat to that, Tara. Crestwind's development said no trucks were supposed to come down Lane Park Road to use as ingress and egress. By your developer that you represented, those trucks still currently come down Lane Park Road, one after another. You guys have broken that. It was in your PD for culture development. And you guys will probably continue to break it with new developers. It's disgusting.
And I can assure you that this is the first time you and I have had this conversation. I have not been involved in that portion of the project, so I mean, y'all, I can't know everything about everything. So that's one thing I'm not. Sure.
And you got up there and specifically said, Lane Park will not be used by construction vehicles, correct?
And no, you're correct. If there is something happening on the ground after I'm no longer retained by a client to represent a case, The thing that happens there is a code enforcement case against anybody who violates the terms of the PUDs, and the PUDs should be adhered to. Those development standards are put in place in order for them to be adhered to. I would welcome a conversation with you if you're upset about a different project, but I think for your neighbors' sake of their time, I'm sure there's a lot of folks who would like to talk about this development. Yes, ma'am.
If that's the case, then how can we trust anything you say? If once you're gone, it's not.
You don't have to. Any zoning planned unit development document is a binding agreement. Just as any of your neighbors could violate local code and have their trash where it's not supposed to be, or a fence higher than it's not supposed to be, the code is supposed to obligate everybody to the type of development and the uses that they can have on their property. If there is an issue, there are enforcement mechanisms that are in place from the city and from the county. There are fines, there are liens, there are enforcement mechanisms in place. Can I say that there will never be on any project some issue that somebody might find out or come up with or have an issue with? Of course I wouldn't say something like that. That would be unreasonable. There could be an issue, but there's always enforcement mechanisms in place, and I can promise you that the weight of a government is a lot heavier than that of an applicant or a private citizen. Yes, sir.
A competent government.
If I may, I wanted to talk about the Shirley Shores. There's a lot of people here from Shirley Shores. If you look at the Shirley Shores area, if you ever use that road, I'm sorry. If you use that road, Shirley Shores, it's a one-way in, one-way out. We had a traffic accident the other day. It took 2 hours just to get home on the same street. It gets blocked. You can't come in. Can't go out. If it's a railroad track accident or an accident on 448, I have gone all the way, probably 5 miles away, blocked from getting in because of the traffic now that's on 448. That's not going to make it any easier coming in and out. That said, with the construction of just that phase that can only use Shirley Shores Road, the condition of the road is a question, the width of the road is a question, and the density that you're putting there in that one spot, do you know the density that's going to be in that one phase?
How many acres?
No, how many units?
270.
270. And the point is, the city annexed in the subdivision that's just across the street from you, and they're 2 and 3 acre parcels. The subdivision to the north of you, which is one of the highest densities in there, and they're 3/4 acre lots. You're doing what, 40 by 120, 50 by 120, 30 by 120?
Let's say 70 foot wide product.
That's a high density. That's a high density for a country rural area of acreage properties. Most properties out there are 1 to 5 acres to 10 acres, home sites. And you're going to take and put this one big density of a huge subdivision coming in and out. And I think that's one of the major concerns for the folks that live on Shirley Shores. It's already getting tough enough now to leave just because of the extra people that have moved there, and then you're going to put that many more homes. That's a lot of people leaving to go to work in the morning, and that's one of our main concerns, is that density that you're requiring, and that the city is not even taking into consideration on that side of the road. For the second fact, fire and police for city has to come all the way around the lake to that development.
Yeah, and again, we have not yet submitted, so I can't tell you that this is what we've already produced and this is what the city has said in response. The city could very well come back with what we are proposing can't work for X reasons or could not be done until the project was phased. I don't have that information yet, but when we do, that would be information that we would make public and have to have an ongoing discussion about. And I completely understand that is a different access situation.
Yeah. The Shirley Shores access and the density of that many people in one area.
No, yes, ma'am.
So you say that this planned unit development comes from a 2011 plan when the aviation was trying to be attracted. What's been done to review this in terms of need, employment, anything like that, now that aviation plan has not gone ahead? Number two, since 2011, there have been a couple of developments along Shirley Shores Road. One is Musselwhite Farms, Lake County. The other one is Hidden River Lakes, which I'm the HOA president for. 68 lots, and we have been held to incredibly strict standards to our relief by Shirley Shores LLC, who I hope are represented here. Hallelujah. You've got neighbours to help. And we've been held to 68 lots, minimum acreage, shared driveways along Shirley Shores purely because of risks, just like that gentleman has explained. So what has changed, and that was 2019, that ordinance, from the same city that you were saying is going to allow 250 units. What's changed?
I do want to be clear. I'm not asserting that the city is approving anything. We still have to go through a public hearing process. But the 2011 ordinance doesn't go away. It doesn't have an expiration date. So it's set out in the comprehensive plan parameters for approved developments and the way that the development has to be laid out amongst that developable acreage, and that's where it comes from. It is not a, you have to update it every couple of years, trigger the comprehensive plan. That is not how it works.
Hidden River Lakes, Shirley Shores, Deer Island, Squirrel Point, anyone who has to use that access point is going to resist you in the strongest possible terms.
Understood. Yes, sir.
We want that Shirley Shores area to be exactly what's there now. We have 5-acre lots. We want your property to be just like what's on the road now, with a sidewalk.
What less than what's on the road now?
Everybody's
I
don't think so. So, ma'am.
You called on me, ma'am? Thank you. My name is Don Kerr. I'm the guy that organized the work on the Shirley Shores Community Group. I want to commend these folks because they didn't have to do this meeting. They didn't have to talk to any of you. So at least they're trying to listen, and that's good. That's very good. So the answer to the question is you can't just war. You have to sit down and communicate, and you have to express your displeasure or pleasure, and you end up coming to agreements where the reason you've got 2-acre and 3-acre lots, when that project started out, it was 50-foot wide lots with 5-foot side yards on both sides. That's what it was. And look what you ended up with. And the reason there is there's process through the city where we negotiate those things, and you all need to show up for those meetings. In 2011, when the future land use map was proposed and viewed on or voted on by the city council, you know how many people were in that room from this group? 0. There was no input at all from anyone from the community when all of that was passed. You gotta show up. You gotta show up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to throw 2 or 3 questions, pretty simple, about the proposed plan.
Sure.
Proposed plan. 200 homes off of Shirley Shores, is that the proposed plan?
270 homes off of Shirley Shores. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned
You said 250.
2,000 homes total?
Just to make sure, it's 270.
It is 270?
Yeah.
2,000 residents total, including that 270?
Yeah, so it's 2,090 units inclusive of the 270.
Okay, and you mentioned that the 270 cannot connect by vehicle, by car to the other, is that correct?
That is, so Alex is going to point.
Okay.
There is no proposed connection. Can't hear you.
There is no proposed connection from the pod off Shirley Shores.
Probably golf cart scenario?
Yes, low-speed vehicles via a multimodal path connection.
Can't there be a road? Say that again?
Multimodal path. So low-speed vehicles, golf carts, pedestrians, bicycles.
Okay.
No road not
Is there a public issue? Safety? I know you're not the city, but well, let me go with this. What are the buffers between existing communities or homeowners and this proposed product?
And the buffers are what we're looking at right now. We're analyzing what the existing setbacks around us are on some of the homes from both the rear and the front to figure out exactly what those buffers might look like, what the plantings might be, and what the width of them are going to be.
Where are all accesses going into every part of this? Are any accesses going from any existing communities or property owners into this?
No. For example,
let's be very clear about that.
For example,
no access other than 561 or Shirley Shores at this point?
Correct.
In other words, you won't be connecting to Old Mill Run.
Right there, the very front.
Here and here.
Okay, that's it. Basically, 3 entrances.
Correct.
Okay.
561 proposed entrance 1, entrance 2, and then
Shirley Shores, you're not the city, but what's the opportunity that the city is going to try to force annexation to some of the other communities that you're bordering?
Nothing that, none that I know of or that would be proposed.
You can't force it if you're already existing.
As far as the roads, 561, 448, have you spoken to the city? Because when I spoke to Kirby Smith, he said there was no future plans to four-lane those roads anytime soon.
He's not at the city.
What I would like to know is when the infrastructure is going to be there, because it's really a safety and a hazard issue when you start impacting another 4,000 cars on those two roads. Right now, they're terrible anyways. You have two-lane roads with terrible ingress and egress on a lot of those roads, so you have an infrastructure issue. And so, in accordance with that 2040 comp plan that the county has, there is no planned future widening of those roads currently. And you can say you guys are going to do the entrances and everything and fluff and put in a roundabout and whatever, but have you met with the city and the county officials specifically that are going to improve those roads? Are you as developers going to help improve those roads per se, to widen those roads or do whatever needs to be done with the county and the city?
Mohammed, we've just had has it just been a methodology meeting? Just a methodology meeting, meaning the methodology on how you run the study was the discussion point so far. So we have not submitted a final report, gotten feedback, nothing.
So currently what you're saying is the roads will stay two-lane roads?
Not necessarily, no.
Well, I mean...
And you're right, it is subject to...
In the 2040 comp plan, it still says it's going to be a two-lane road for the next 10 years.
Right, and some of so the comp plan sets forth capital improvements that a city or a county is budgeting or projecting to make, and then there are improvements that developers may be obligated to make to directly offset the impacts of their development. So I'm not 100% sure what that ultimate impact would be.
If you guys were going, let's say, like over at Crestwood, you guys said you were going to put $3.5 million in for the expansion of Captain Haynes and everything. What is Four Star going to put up for development for increasing the capacity of 561 and 448? Correct. As far as four-laning it, putting curbing, making it so it's not a specific hazard to people that have ingress and egress from all that property.
So we don't have to pay it out of our taxes?
Yes.
Not our taxable income.
Good evening, everybody. Mohammed with Traffic and Mobility Consultants doing the traffic analysis for this project. Just a quick commentary on that. The roadway 561 is in the needs plan for the MPO, as Tara mentioned earlier. That is what we're working with the agencies, city, county, state. This is, of course, we're only part of that solution. But this applicant, like any applicant, will have to bring a significant amount of funding through the assessment of impact fees that are assessed by the city and the county on this project. So with every application for development, they will be contributing towards these needs that are in the plan for improvements. In addition to that, as Tara said earlier, in addition to that, every application has to meet a strict standard of concurrency, which means it has to offset its own impacts on the transportation network through making specific improvements. And those improvements ensure that you have safe access, that you have adequate movements in and out of the community and at nearby intersections.
Because you guys are going to do stuff within there. Have you spoken with the county officials? Because here's where the problem lies. You guys are going to try to get city permits, which is where this property is. Those are county roads. So what happens is you have the county saying one thing. So in my case, I had the chief county engineer say that no other homes should be built on our road. But the city annexed that property and went ahead and approved it, even though the county said no further homes should be built on that. So we have to sue the city and develop it. So it's not a good thing, because you guys are going to do the same thing. What you're going to do is that the city's going to try to approve that, and the city's going to say, no, that's a county road. We don't have to do anything to it.
So I appreciate that comment, and I can't speak to that specific case or whatever it is. But in this instance,
True.
My colleague here and myself are in regular communication with our counterparts in the county and in the city. Because we will be pulling, ultimately, if should this be approved and move forward and the development occur, we are pulling permits from the county in order to connect to the county roads. Therefore, the county is very much at the table, and they are part of this analysis that we're doing, and we're in constant communication.
It does not mean they're going to widen the roads.
No, you're just talking about turn lanes, ingress and egress to your community. And that's all you're speaking of right now, is your turn lanes ingressing and egressing to the community, correct?
We're not there. We're not there yet.
Correct?
We're not there
Are
yet.
we correct?
I don't know. We'll find out.
That's where you're at.
Look at, we live at Lakeside at Tavares, right there. Right where this starts. It takes us right now 5 to 7 minutes to get out.
Can't hear you.
It takes us 5 to 7 minutes to get out into the traffic.
If you don't stand up and speak up, don't speak.
He's just talking about the traffic where he has to get out. He's just asking a question. He's not going to affect anything.
We have turn lanes, and they don't do any good, so they can't get out. It's a two-lane road.
So let me just address again. Everyone's jumping to conclusions about what we will and will not do. Every application has to go through a rigorous review process. I can tell you one thing. One of the things that will be part of this evaluation is where we need improved traffic control, not just turn lanes. If we can't get the cars in and out of the project with a stop sign, there might be a signal, there might be a roundabout, there might be other improvements that will help not just these residents, but other residents that access the road to go in and out of the community. Having said that, every applicant cannot fix the city, right? We're not here to change what the city looks like.
You want to expect the developer to fix all of 561 and all of 448, and that's not going to happen. Think about it when you're in the landowner. To improve it is up to the county or city. That's why, and I'm not justifying anything for them, okay? I'm just trying to say, the purpose of a permit, every single dwelling that they build, every single thing that they try to do, they have to pay impact fees to the city and to the county. It's up to the government. Wait a minute. It's up to the government, the local government, to do what they need to be doing with that impact.
You are correct.
So the money goes to them to improve those roads.
You are correct. And that's why they've got, can I have this?
Just one, I gotta get it to somebody else real quick. Yes, ma'am. Just a couple more minutes, y'all. Sorry, I appreciate your patience.
We don't have a complete build-out yet of the project, but we will tell you that the first phase is planned off Shirley Shores. Well, first of all, the first support the retail and the commercial, generally the recovery support those. And there's studies that were done for that. Another thing is there's more improvements, 561, more permitting, longer time frames to get that infrastructure, the more dense infrastructure completed. And we also, this is what was negotiated with the owners as the first phase of the project.
Alex had noted that the first phase would be off Shirley Shores. In the event that that happens, we were asked what is the estimated time frame for realistically when work could commence there.
Really, that comes down to permitting timelines and approval timelines with assumptions. I would say development wouldn't start their project sooner than a year. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
I want to ask you to go in a different direction here. What would be the average age of people buying properties in here?
These are Well, these will be market rate, so they're not tax credit financed housing or anything,
Well,
it's
I
all
think it's probably
market
going to be
rate.
35, 44, 45-year-old people. That is not matching this group here. That's one of the things that.
We don't want to listen to their music.
Did you have another question, sir?
I just want to tell you that I have one. I have the home I just bought here. And
Can't hear you.
the DMV took 1 minute, over there it's 2-3 hours. There's bums in every lighting facility. I mean every light. I'm afraid of my light picture. This is 4 or 5 years down the line. We've got right up the road. The schools are open every day. The red light cameras, there's no red light cameras here. There's no speed cameras here.
You're talking about, this is a complete meeting from this section. All of these points that you have are very valid. You need to bring them up with the City of Tavares. It doesn't have anything to do with these people are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm sure once you can go back to wherever you came.
Spencer, my property butts up to this property. It looks like you've got some type of, I'm not sure what it is.
Can't hear you.
Are they gonna be affordable?
What, I'm sorry, let me finish this question. You said your house abuts where, sir?
My property, I've got neighbors back here. Our property butts up to Far Reach Ranch. We know at this point, we know the makeup of this land, and we know that it's 6 to 16 foot of muck before you get to the hard pan. And this area that you've got right here is the actual swamp, as is this, and this is a natural river. I understand that was artificially, yeah, we know, in 1990, I get it all. This is a natural river though, and this used to, and this appears to be blocking its access into the Dora, as is this. So my question is, you're going to bring in all this fill to this location, and you're effectively going to flood my property because this is a natural river. Ellsworth Junction is still going to drain toward Lake Dora through here. And effectively, your raised elevation will now push that water onto my property, flooding me.
Both of our questions are in the same ramification, so we're all on the same thing. It's all called permeability. Where is your water going? Okay, the permeability is where's the water go and how does it get there? All right, from his standpoint, from all of us, I abut from one end, he abuts from the other end. That permeable water has to go somewhere. Okay, it can't go into the lake. Okay, because stormwater, you can't control it going into Lake Dora without a treatment facility. It can't go into these small retention areas that you've built up there because what we're looking at is a swampland. And it's going to create, this is going to create so much groundwater. We've lost infrastructures by groundwater, not from hurricanes, but by groundwater penetrating from other sides, even coming from the other side of Highway 19. Where is this water going to go from a civil aspect?
So as we stated earlier, of the 830 acres of wetlands,
In the microphone.
about 800 of that is being retained. So the intent is not to disrupt the natural conveyance of the land or the existing storage that those wetlands currently provide.
What is the percentage of the current land set?
Percentage of what?
What is the percentage of the current land set developed?
I don't understand your question. Percentage of what, though?
Roughly, what percentage has been developed, has finalized, has been reviewed?
Oh, nothing.
69.
This is a conceptual site plan. We haven't moved into the engineering phase. We have to understand what we get approved in the PUD so we understand what we're designing. So we haven't gotten to that stage.
He just blew the cat out of the bag 5 minutes ago. Because he's 1 year away from permits. That means somebody's been working with somebody somewhere.
Well,
Money's been shifting takes. But I'm going to tell you right now, you said something earlier about Tavares. All right, we all live in the city of Tavares. Unfortunately, I live 1 block over, and I'm in Lake County, but I'm in Tavares 1 block away from Tavares. We have a problem because they don't, and I hate to say this, they don't always make a genuine, educated decision when they make a ruling. And those decisions are the reason you have so many people in this room and so many people that are asking these questions because we've heard so much. That intersection right there at 448 at McDonald's right now, without the snowbirds being here, from 345 to 615 backs up past the car wash. And that's with no development over here. So that, with Kirby Smith's criteria and my direction talking to Kirby the other day, was supposed to have been a traffic light by Tavares years ago. So we're asking you, if you want to propose this, the next time you come in, bring the city with you. Let the city know that we need some things that need to transpire.
And the county.
And the county, so to speak, because they have to combine their infrastructure.
This is a community meeting.
And that's why we're telling you what would benefit you. But us as homeowners, we can't. I cannot insure a seawall. And since Hurricane Irma and this, it's cost me $150,000 in seawall degradation because of water runoff from other areas. And that's from developed areas up on the other side of 19. I've had the engineers on our property 8 times in the last 2 years. They can't figure it out. So we hope you can.
We're hoping our engineer designs, we already have a large percentage of stormwater already assumed for the project. If you look at some of the surrounding communities that have no stormwater retention, obviously maybe a little bit larger lots, arguable, but that have zero stormwater, zero treatment. If you look at the size of our stormwater that's already assumed, it's a substantial portion of the development. And we've also buffered, obviously since we're not proposing any impacts directly to the lake shore, just at the village center where we're going to make a focal point for the lake.
Will you have your own treatment plant?
If you look at the stormwater, they're oversized. They're also prior to any lake connection. So if you notice where all the locations of the stormwater ponds are, you see that they're buffering and bordering, blocking the homes from the lake. That's done for engineering purposes as far as treatment purposes.
So it overflows the lake.
Well, we also know,
We also have, yeah, it's pre-treatment.
well, we also have 30 years of what this part of this project.
Let's move on. Enough.
If we get approved to move forward in engineering, there's a pre and post design, there's a tremendous amount of engineering work done. We can't block off drainage from other areas. It's pre and post. We can't discharge more water than post built that was done pre. It's just, that's an engineering question.
Those studies that you've done.
Those studies will be done when we understand what we...
Talk to him after the meeting. Take it outside.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me in the back?
Yep.
All right, I live right underneath Area 1. We have a small community, and we have roads that you will not be going through to connect.
Correct.
Definitely not. And
We're not proposing.
in the hopes of cooperation, which is what this meeting is, right? We had a gentleman stand up earlier, which I wasn't here when the subdivision that was off of Shirley Shores tried to do the same thing with all these units, and then they got denied and said, oh, you need at least 1 or 2 acres. Since you haven't submitted anything yet, how about listening to what another group went through and tell us, you will do that at a minimum, what we're requesting to expand instead of 270 units, take a look at the 1 acre, 2 acre minimum based on what that other did. That shows us that you're making some form of effort to try to listen to what we're telling you, that 270 units in that area is way too many units.
That's why we're here.
Okay,
that's why we have this meeting.
I'm still waiting for someone to say, yes, we will do the minimum like that other place did, 1 to 2 acre lots at a minimum. We don't want any of them, but at a minimum, you'll do what that other company did.
And I can assure you in subsequent community meetings and in public hearings, we're going back to design all of the data points. Again, like I said, the buffers, our setbacks, exact entrance road locations, if one's emergency, one's not, what that looks like, what the width is, where are sidewalks off-site. All of that's going to come back in a lot more detail. I mean, one of the problems with coming this early is I feel like a lot of people get frustrated that they aren't getting a ton of definitive information, aside from what we know some of the upper limits could be right now of development. But on the other hand, we also want to hear enough early on so that we aren't just a week away from a hearing.
Is there any more detail for Area 1, since that's what you're going to plan on starting? What's going to be in there? Is there
and if there's folks who are,
I
understand that one's all residential, but Area 1. So I understand if some folks are only interested in the impacts, probably of maybe just Area 1, to have an offline conversation, we're happy to do a subsequent meeting with just what we can call a Shirley Shores group of interested homeowners. Of course, anybody would be welcome, but that might help us focus a little bit more on some of the different areas.
Where are the kids going to go? Where are the kids going to go to school?
And that was one of the statements I tried to make at the beginning in terms of capacity at schools. We have to run a school capacity analysis to determine from a middle, elementary, and high school perspective where students could go. And then
you're putting that many people into this community. Our schools are full. Like, they are full. So are you planning on building new schools?
So the way that the county requires, because Lake County Public Schools oversees this part of the project from a concurrency standpoint.
So we have to pay for the schools?
No, no. So
Impact fees.
Any developer, even if you build one single family home, you have to pay school impact fees. If it is not a deed restricted property for 55 and up, or there's some other exemption for affordability or something, you're paying school impact fees. Even if your kids are grown and you have no intention of a child going to school, the county requires school impact fees. So they will make an estimate based on the number of school-aged children that could be generated from a project of this magnitude. They will say where there is capacity available at schools, and if there is no capacity, then you enter into what they call a proportionate share mitigation agreement with the county, where you have to accelerate the payment of school impact fees in order to provide for additional capacity to be paid for. The unfortunate reality is schools cannot and do not get built until they exceed their allowable capacity.
Okay. How many of your dwellings are going to be involved in the impact fees? Are there going to be
every single one of them?
None of them are exempt from that?
They're all paying impact fees.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, those that are current county residents, okay, once the annexation, is that going to impact our taxes, and will we have to connect to city sewer?
We're not annexing. This is already in the city, so we're not proposing any annexation. This project is in the City of Tavares. So there's no proposed additional annexations or requirements for connection to water and sewer. We are already in the city.
And what about the taxes?
And your increase in, I don't know why this increases your taxes. I'm not my expertise, so I don't want to opine.
Because the infrastructure is not paid for.
Is it a private HOA property?
All be private HOA. It's going to be required to all be private.
Gated or whatever you're going to have to your residents, right?
This will be an HOA governed community.
Okay, so we'll be private.
Yes, ma'am. Over certain.
You said this was a multi-use. How many 1 acre upscale homes will you have? Yes or no?
The question is how many 1 acre homes if it's multi-use. Right now, the program does not include 1 acre home sites.
Half acre.
There are, the programming is lot sizes that are 70s, 60s, and townhomes.
Is this a community that you feel comfortable with your parents raising your children in, any of them?
I have 2 little children, and I am trying to move away from where I am because I'm too far from everything, so yes.
You ready to move in?
Yeah, I'm too far from things. I'd rather a shorter drive, and getting 2 kids in and out of a car with strollers is an absolute nightmare. So. Yes, sir. Yes. Sorry, I don't know your name.
Alex, you're doing a wonderful job.
Stand up, please.
Would you please point out the entry and exit points again?
Entry and exit points.
If they're there, they have a name. The road.
There's, which section? All sections?
All of them.
I start over here on this portion. Right now, the proposed exit, entrance, egress, ingress, egress is here and here for this portion of Shirley Shores.
Two shores.
This portion of the project here is only accessed via the village center access here. This portion has no other access points.
And now where does the village center exit out of there?
The village center here has circulation points through the project, but it exits out over here at 561 at a proposed intersection with Lake Idemere.
Lake Idemere is across 561.
It is, but you have to align. And when you design entranceways, it's probably they want to be aligned, so they're not misaligned for.
Okay, Lane Park Road. Right
yes,
there,
Lane Park.
84 long. Yes, that's Lane Park Road, not Idemere.
Lane Park, not Lake Idemere.
Okay, and the other one?
The other one is over here, near where the current access is to Far Reach Ranch.
Okay.
Right off 561. There isn't another road intersection near that.
Are they still going to use the one that is existing for the front of the farm right now? That goes into the development?
No. It closed. Yeah, that road, no, we're proposing a different access point slightly below the other one. There is an access, small portion here, it's hard to see, that will connect to Dora Boulevard or Division.
So you will be getting 2 railroad crossings for these proposed exits?
Correct. That's what we'll be seeking.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your proposed plan for all of the wildlife? That was my question.
So one of the slides that we had was about environmental assessments. We have to have that environmental assessment finalized, and the report then gets submitted to the city for their review. The city isn't just the sole permitting agency, so depending on what type of wildlife are there, then we would have to go through proper channels if there are impacts to areas, say, of a gopher tortoise. You know, what you do to have that gopher tortoise relocated to another location. In terms of bears, somebody passed along that they heard that there was a bear hunt on the property. There is most certainly no bear hunt.
As Far Star is the applicant of the project, we are not seeking to have any bear hunts on the property.
The seller, we could not find information about that, so if anybody does have it, I welcome the opportunity to see it, but we saw nothing about a bear hunt. I can assure you that it's not.
FWC still, I think, has an August vote on that, just
That's a Florida vote, not a local vote.
Yeah, that's not a City of Tavares campaign.
FWC has a hearing already done, scheduled for August. FWC, Far Star has no application and is not seeking to have any application to hunt any animals at this project. We don't do that. We don't allow hunting on our projects. At any of our projects. So I saw that on Facebook. That has nothing to do with Far Star on this
Area
project.
1. They're in that Area 1.
In Area 1?
The bears and all that stuff, they're all in that
Ask
Area 1.
Don. Ask Don a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me, real quick in the front, and then I'll get to you, Dawn.
Okay, just a couple quick questions. One, how much acreage of wetland or waterland, whatever, whether it's lakefront or whatever, is proposed to be filled in?
None.
So there is just for the road access to the site, I don't know if we have that final number.
We don't have final engineer design on that, so we don't have to determine. There may be some impacts for road access into the projects that may not be there, or also some tieback areas.
Let's see if I can.
The major part of it, 779 acres that we're proposing to be preserved, which is it should be the bulk of it. We don't have an exact number, but I would say we'd be preserving 90% plus. We have to still make it through engineering to understand that.
Elevation changes?
Yes, there will be elevation changes in the project. You can't do engineering
I'm
with
just wondering
water.
like they said, where the water was going was one part of the question.
There'll be pre and post studies on where the water currently moves through. You can't block those things off. So you have to allow that natural.
Are you guys going to buy mitigation credits for that? Or are you going to trade them for something or whatever?
Generally, this is down the road. Generally, we seek to do conservation easements and protections on all our projects. And that would be done through permitting with Water Management District, potentially Army Corps of
You guys
Engineers.
already have the Kudos and biotech look at it?
We do have biotech as part of the staff team. We have a representative from biotech here today. But yeah, so we have not submitted any official applications.
Done, yes.
That's how a lot of these wetland areas are actually preserved in the conservation easement, and they're permanently protected. Correct. This is how it happens. If they're agricultural, they're not protected, they can, they're very much less protected than they are.
My question is, how are you going to communicate with all of these people? And are we, because we signed up with email back here, are you going to send us this presentation? Are you going to be in touch with us through email?
So long as I can read your handwriting, you will get an email from us. So we will follow up and we can send you project information, and if you want to be on a distribution mailer, if you don't, please reply back and say don't, or go scribble your email address out.
Here's my suggestion for what is fair and reasonable to do. I would suggest that there's a lot of people that are angry, a lot of people that don't know the answers to the questions. They don't know the answers to the questions. This nice gentleman here met with me earlier, and I have more information than you do right now. But what should happen is, if you are concerned and you want to do something about it, get yourselves together, get someone to head a team. It's not going to take $7 million to work on this. We spent $44,000 on Hidden Rivers, and we got pretty much everything that we want. I think they're reasonable people. I think they want to negotiate with all of you in order to do a reasonable development. So pick somebody, not me, I've been there, pick somebody, start raising money, meet with them, and get reasonable solutions.
And we are happy. I know some folks have emailed in questions. We were trying to see if some of those questions might have been answered tonight at the meeting. I understand they may not all have been answered, but if you have been sending in questions, we are compiling all of those questions so that we can try to put together a little fact sheet to send to everybody, so that it'll have a lot of questions, because many of them are the same, so we want to disseminate the same information to everybody. So please give us a couple days, again, after tonight, so we can get all of that together. And if you can submit those questions to us, that would be very helpful. There's been some nice patient hands over there at the corner.
Yeah, you mentioned townhomes, single family homes. How affordable is that going to be for the average median income family in Lake County? Are those going to be, do you have a rough ballpark of how much those are going to cost?
We've done some initial market studies, and it's a mixed-use project, so it'll be different type product in here. It'll be rear-load townhomes. We have some attached villas. I would target somewhere from the low 300s up to 8.
That's not affordable. That's not reasonably affordable. You're making these families with small children. How is that affordable for
And to answer your question, not all of the product in here is going to be affordable to everyone. And the larger the lots that we make, the more expensive every one of those lots become. So some folks in this room
are all together.
Sure, understood, but some...
The cost of the entire development all will get spread out across how many deals.
But it's not for the average person. You gotta have one.
I realize it.
This really isn't for us. These are for the people that are moving out of state.
I just want to say, don't link no on Lake County. We all moved out here for a reason. I have a question about it.
Don't link no to Lake County.
So who will be the builder? Because we're seeing developments going up and the houses are shrinking up there. And every house looks the same. They put 4,000 square feet in zero lots. They have no big enough garage for parking. They have only...
Quiet and back, please.
2 cars. And those, I don't care how big the house is, whether the house another townhome, it is a cookie cutter or something. It ruins the whole community and brings down the prices on smaller houses, which was built by a quality builder, but not 4,000 square feet.
So the comment is about cookie cutter developments and what is the project going to look like? So one of the things that we're doing right now is coming up with a design package. Just so everybody knows, the state of Florida, every legislative session, has found some creative ways that local governments have said take away home rule authority. So there's a lot of things that get preempted to the state, where the state says we make these decisions, cities and counties no longer make these decisions. One of those bills that got passed last year says that single-family home designs cannot be regulated. Now we are, I don't want to lose you on just that statement. We are proposing and giving some the images of things that we are going to build, and we, in the PUD, we have standards. So those are things we're developing now. Those are things that we'd love to hear feedback on. And again, we don't want everybody to think that every bit of feedback we can necessarily implement, but we won't ever do it unless we hear it.
And also the quality of the houses they are in. People spending $500,000-$600,000 at home, and they ending up wondering because they have so many issues and the builder is not responsible. So we would like to know that we have not out of state builders who just take the money and run and leave the problem for the buyer. We would like to know that the things that the community price and everybody has problem with that. Insurance price goes up and everybody is frustrated.
And the question was about the builders.
Okay. Just for clarification, 4-Star is a development company. We actually don't manufacture the homes. We will be, setting up the HOA. We will maintain the open space, the common areas, build the roads, build the infrastructures. But we partner with local and national home builders for the actual construction of the homes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where Far Reach Ranch is and Lentz Road, are they proposing anything for how they put up the walls or the barriers to keep the noise out from the new development?
So like
that on highways and big projects.
Sound
like
barriers?
Sound barriers.
Right now, we're still looking at buffering. We're not proposing sound walls or sound barriers in the project.
Okay.
And generally, we're doing that looking to do that with landscape buffers. Generally, those are less intrusive, and they in my opinion, they look better. We have natural scaping.
Will this be a CDD?
There are no bonds issued at this time in the project. We're too far in the initial. There's a possibility that CD bonds could be issued in the project.
Let me just see if we've gotten all the comments. Go back to some.
So, obviously we didn't hear everything because we don't all know everything yet. But one thing that I did hear, and I think a lot of people did hear, is they're starting on the Shirley Shores area, is where it's proposed to start first. And then there was a comment made that this could start in less than a year. That was the comment.
I said no sooner than a year.
He said no sooner than a year. Sorry, he said no.
I said no sooner than a year, but this is
no sooner than a year.
No sooner than a year.
Because I think for a permit for a house that doesn't go for and get it in a year. So if we can do it in a year and a half, how are we going to get the roads up to through the county and all that? I mean, that timing, I think everybody assumed this was going to be a long way down the road, but now.
It could always be longer. It's all done by permitting.
Yeah.
We have to do PUD if we get approved. We have to do full engineering. I just wanted to give somebody a time frame. I didn't want to say 4 years and it's a year and a half.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm assuming it's could be 2 years, 3 years, but we don't know it.
That's going to have multiple meetings, less than 2 years.
And you're right, it's completely dependent on permitting, so we don't have control over how many rounds of reviews and how long it takes to get it.
By starting here, now we're trying to get some kind of spike it, and we're in and we're good to go with everything else.
I didn't follow the question, I'm sorry.
Well, by going over and doing some infrastructure off Shirley Shores, is that getting the acceptance? The city saying, yeah, we're ready to go.
The whole thing is coming in at once, so we're not just proposing a piece to come back later.
The PUD covers the entire project. Construction plan, site development, I can say that this is the first planned phase of development.
I would just propose that some consideration is the density on phase 1. If you haven't driven the road for Shirley Shores, I'll get in the car, go drive that road. You'll see what I'm talking about, the narrow parts of it, the exit in and out of that at any busy time. That's what we're really concerned about. But the density impacting that area is already tremendous just for what we already have out there. And just asking for that consideration for that density that you were proposing for that location.
So Tara, speaking of developers and everything, would the developers be opposed that a few of us, or we said a couple people, to go with the developers to the county and the city before your next few community hearings, meetings or whatever you're going to do, to find find out with the developer and the city and the county how that they're going to fix those roads and not impact and have a safety hazard issue around the county and the city on the county roads. Because you're talking about the City of Tavares annexed, I mean, that property's already been annexed.
It's in the city, right?
But all those surrounding roads are all county roads.
State roads, they're state roads, the highways.
No, I would say the developer, let a couple of communities go meet with the city and county officials to see how they're going to fix those roads to improve the infrastructure before you guys.
Their approach is because the cities don't ever share taxes and raise the homes or anything.
I'm not even sure if the county would be even open to that.
Yeah,
if they are, sure.
We would be open to having that meeting with groups. I just don't necessarily know if we'd be available to.
Well, you guys are going to have a lot of people by bringing tax base revenue. And so those city officials.
Well, they don't get enough, because I've talked to them.
Whether they got to take out a bond, or whatever they can do against the tax base that you guys can impose on those homes the city's going to actually get. But the county isn't really going to get much of that, but it's their roads that are impacted.
And maybe if there's a couple, and I'm not trying to designate you, but a couple point people who might want to be the person that's the spokesperson, the ears and eyes, so that you can go back and say, this is what actually happened. You don't have to take my word for it or my client's word for it. So, right, yeah. Happy if you would like to have a couple of you designate, or, I mean, we surely can't, I mean, I don't think the county and the city, they don't come to these to give input. They tell you to come to a public hearing. So that's why I'm saying we're happy to always have candid conversations and bring whoever to the table. I don't think you'll get the whole city and county engineering department at a community meeting to answer questions, is my assumption.
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's why I was saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy to.
With the developer, a couple people go with the developer. You guys set up a meeting with the county.
However,
happy to reach out.
If I can add to his comment, however, that is up to us to communicate with our county commissioners that are for your location to help be your advocate for all this.
City council, so you need to vote out.
Yes, sir, in the back. Oh, yes, sir, back, sorry.
I'm just kind of curious. I moved to the area right off of Shirley Shores because it was a country area. We specifically live in an area that is no less than 1 house per acre for a reason. I have animals. I like to shoot. My neighbors like to shoot. We like to live in a country area.
Cars coming to
what you're proposing, those folks ain't going to get along with us. Because when we start shooting, they're going to start calling the cops. And the cops are going to tell them tough shit. Because guess what? They're allowed to shoot on their property. So what are y'all doing? Why are you trying to put something that is not country into the country area?
When did you move into your house, did you say?
When did I move into it? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
30 years
And it's been country since before I moved out there. I bought a country house and I wanted to stay country. Y'all can get the hell out instead of moving forward. We don't want the government for this song, we want y'all gone.
Right, and I can appreciate that residential brokers don't typically give future land use maps on things that are approved or not approved. This is.
Good luck getting through Shirley Shores.
Yeah, this is truly one of those instances since 2011 that it's been designated that there would be residential development here under some guidelines in the comprehensive plan. So that is the reality of the property rights as they sit, and what we're talking about is how do we implement those in the PUD.
Change it to be what we got, country. We don't need townhomes. We don't need all this other crap. Keep it 1 house per acre. What you're proposing is not what we want.
Understood.
It's not what should be out there. Leave it alone.
We don't need
Understood, yes, sir.
Okay, so she's been here almost 30 years, my mom. Okay, 2011, nobody knew about that meeting.
Nobody.
Nobody.
So we didn't go. We didn't know. We were notified later.
I agree.
That had occurred. I think they need to do a whole new feasibility study because it's all different now. There's a buku more people in Lake County than there was at that time.
Yeah.
The airways won't hold anymore. The roads won't hold anymore. When we bought our property, I was forced to sign a paper that I would annex into the city if the city wanted to annex. Our property line is right on that line where you are. And if you walked our property in the back, And we're not in, they were here when, I can't imagine how much filter you're going to bring in. When they build in the subdivision right next to us, the back part of it, they were forcing the water up into the yard. We had to wait, because we rented a house in there, we had to wait to get into it. You cannot believe how wet it is.
And just to kind of put into perspective, I understand the desire for, we should have a feasibility study as it relates to the city's comprehensive plan. So the city does do updates to their comprehensive plan, and they change some designations. Sometimes when they do a full update, sometimes when an applicant asks for one, like in 2011. The reason that they don't keep updating it every 6 months, every year, the study to update it takes a year or two just to do, so it's not practical or feasible, but the guardrails get put into place at the permitting level. So that's why the reality, like I was saying in the beginning, of what school capacity, road capacity, environmental issues on the site, what they look like today, could look very different in 3 years. In fact, they could be so much worse that these folks can't pull permits. And that is a risk of every development, that when time passes, circumstances may change such that you are not legally allowed to get permits because you cannot mitigate the impacts of your development. And Florida Statutes Chapter 163 requires that. So that's binding on the cities and the counties. So that's where the guardrails come into place. Do they always get it right? Maybe not necessarily, but that's the mechanism for protecting what the comp plan policy sets out when somebody comes many years later to act upon the rights that are set out in there.
Well, and another thing is the animals, I mean, we've had a Florida beaver on our front porch. Last year we had probably somewhere between 50 and 75 turkeys that lived right there.
Yeah, there has a picnic area.
Did they taste good?
Yeah, there's all kinds of wildlife. There's rattlesnakes. There's everything is out here. The bald eagles.
The gators that come on our property from the big lakes onto our property all the time.
They're everywhere. I mean, it's the same.
We had to call to have the gators removed multiple times from the trap. Because the males, large males, kick the little, males out, and then they come, so.
A lot of the things you're talking about with animals.
There's an environmental assessment that's done on the project, it's submitted, it's reviewed by multiple jurisdictions. There's a bald eagle's nest that's shown where the nesting seasons. There's people that study those. We're aware if there's bald eagle nests on the site, and then we work within around those as much as possible. There's disturbance permits and other things that you have to do for permitting.
One last question that I had the second part earlier is there any, in this proposed plan, is there any idea of you needing to purchase any surrounding, like people's other land surrounding it, and would there be any issues with the eminent domain?
No. And we as a private developer don't have the authority or right to enact eminent domain. So,
what about the streets and roads?
In terms, so the way that it works is if we would be required, for example, to widen a road, we would be widening it within the parameters of existing right-of-way. Again, if the impacts of the development are such that there is no right-of-way and you can't widen, that precludes your ability to potentially move forward. So we work within the right-of-way that is there. I am yet to see Lake County using eminent domain to take private property on roadway projects. I mean, again, this is a private development, so we have to deal with the conditions as they exist.
If you did know, there's easements on people's property. We're dealing with this with Westminster on Lake Carlton and Lake Eau Claire, which they started earlier with fill dirt, so how would you ever find and they got a stop order, so I hope you guys don't do that.
Loads of dirt.
But still, if you live on Shirley Shores or whatever, one of those streets, and it needs widened, they'll take your property. There's an easement, everybody's got like an easement, so you're gonna lose property. You need to check your surveys.
There's utility easements on both sides of Shirley Shores. I'm not aware of any right-of-way reservations.
Yeah, he was saying I think there's utility easements on both sides of Shirley Shores, but maybe not right-of-way.
And a utility easement.
But that's not, you're saying it's a distinction, it's not necessarily right-of-way for a road to be able to be built over it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Reservations, we wouldn't look into it. There are utility easements on both sides of the state.
But we'll definitely look into that, because we understand Shirley Shores is going to be a big discussion point. especially to meet again with residents.
Hey, Tara, just to let you know, we only have a few more minutes, so probably one or two more questions.
I'm sorry, I just looked at the time. So,
Question, on the Shirley Shores property.
yes, sir.
Is it designated, I know it's residential, single story, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, what is it?
We have no actual end-use builders selected now, but they'd be single and 2-story residents. We're not proposing 3-story residential in this portion of the project.
Condominiums like that?
No apartments, no condos.
All residential. Is residential going to be for permanent or renters? Rental companies come in and build up?
Fee simple is the plan for the project.
Yes, fee simple.
Can you explain what fee simple means for anyone who hasn't taken property law?
Sure. So fee simple meaning those would be sold. Lots, that's what he was talking about. The lots in the areas that you were talking about would be single-family home lots to be sold. Can you point to where we're talking about those?
So are you building the homes too?
Well, I'm definitely not. You're really bad construction.
We will do the infrastructure. Four-Star is a development company only. So we will do all the infrastructure of the project, the common areas, the amenities, those improvements. The lots themselves, we will sell the lots and builders will build the actual structure.
Can you say that so that these people understand what that means? Is that they're gonna develop it out just like they did on the other side of Shirley Shores Road, if I'm correct. And they'll just have lots. And then they will sell those lots and actually leave once you sell all the lots. Then those people buying the lots are responsible to get their houses built. Is that correct?
Or it's
That's
a home builder.
We stay along with the project until it gets turned over to the governing entities, which would be the HOA. For several years, we do not build the homes.
Okay, they do not build the homes. Understand what that's saying? And you're saying it's only going to be single and double-story permitted?
On those, well, in those two areas that he was mentioning, yeah.
The PUD that we will submit to the city will include what can and cannot be constructed in these areas. We're not proposing 3-story single-family residential in any of these purely residential portions.
Are you going to come and clear out all those trees and everything so that someone can make them into lots? Because you're backed up, the way there's a little map thing that's going around to show how your lots are. And I'm literally where you want to put 20 feet of landscape.
You're giving up?
Oh, I'm with them. I run this direction, you're going to build this direction, so I'm going to have to deal with 15 houses right when I'm come outside my door and my pool and my everything with 20 feet. I think that's less between me and that wall. And your little site things, and you're going to put up a tree every 40 feet?
No, not the buffer would be a landscape buffer, so we proposed what that would be. But just so I remember, you're in this in...
No, one.
One.
I'm at the bottom corner. Bottom left corner.
So that's why we're having this meeting. We talk about
Is there a way to expand it further than 20 feet?
That's a conversation that we'd love to have.
Oh my God, please.
Tara?
Yeah, that's exactly what we would like to have a conversation about if you want to flag us about.
Tara,
Oh, sorry, yes, sir.
I have a question. Are you familiar with Urban 3?
I'm sorry, say that
Are you
again?
familiar with the company Urban 3?
I'm not sure.
They are, my issue is the cost to the existing homeowners for building this infrastructure. And Urban 3 has done studies on many cities, but not here, that show that every new home project, the taxpayers lose money, so they ended up, the existing taxpayers subsidize the construction of infrastructure, even with impact fees, to build for the new one. May I suggest, because I'm going to lobby for the City of Tavares and the county to have an Urban 3 study to show how much the existing taxpayers are going to have to pay to subsidize the infrastructure, because all these rules and the studies that you have, they don't generate enough money to pay for infrastructure for new developments.
Well, you know I always welcome a lot of information and dialogue, so I'm more than happy if you seriously, if you send that to me, you know I'll read it, and we can have a conversation about it, and we can certainly get it to our team, because...
I'm not aware of that study,
Yeah,
but
I
I will tell you that Forestar as the developer, we put all the pipes in the ground, we put the roads in, we put the base, we put all the infrastructure in, and if it's dedicated to the public, it's done so without cost. So that's what the developers do. We generally won't go through and build a lot and a home with no road, so there's no public tax basis that goes to construct the road, and it'll all be in place.
We're mostly on well water.
What about fire, police, all those things? They don't adequately budget for them before you go in.
Municipalities do studies on that. I'm fairly certain that Tavares has tripled their impact fees.
Yeah, they just significantly increased their impact.
They just tripled them.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you could tell us how many people in the development company that are in this development in our backyard actually live here.
In Tavares specifically?
Yes, that'd be great. Tavares, I'll take Lake County. Hands, anyone? Anybody? Do any of you live here?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Forestar has, I don't know if you're asking for Central Florida. We
No,
actually
your
have
neighbors. Are you our neighbors, or you just
our
want to
actual
leave
region
it?
president is a Lake County resident.
But where in Lake County? Claremont?
No.
No, you wouldn't live there.
Umatilla.
Try to turn us.
I-
Umatilla?
We could probably get to his house in a 10-minute drive.
Depending on traffic. 0.
And then we'll wrap up, and if you want to come up with a question afterward,
Just
sure.
one quick thing. I've lived out off of Shirley Shores for 16 years, and our road was one years ago that just recently got paved. And the development company, I don't know all the details about it, they had to move the turtles. And they started out with a company that the developer got, I don't know the name of it, but they moved some turtles. Then we ended up talking to a worker from the City of Tavares because the company pulled out, and the city had to go around setting up these things with these foil things to catch the turtles. It took over a year just to get the turtles off from our one road off of Shirley Shores. So,
I'm not sure why that's
it's not
what
going to be like a
happened.
quick thing because they said, oh, well, we pulled out, now it's the city's problem. And they finally got all the turtles out, then they could pave the road after.
Unless that was a city
We wouldn't have the
project.
opportunity to do that in the way it was permitted. We would be responsible for any relocation of those resorts.
To the development company.
The development company is, there's permits that are done for the scene, there's recipient sites that have to be selected, they get medical review, lots of different things go in.
Thank you all. If you didn't sign in, if you don't mind on your way out, so we can have your contact information, and we appreciate your time.